Well, hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. In this one, I'm going to be discussing as well as breaking down the ultimate class for the FFAR Assault Rifle here in Call of Duty Warzone. So of course guys, welcome back to another Warzone best class video here on the channel. And of course for this one, we are going to be tackling the FFAR Assault Rifle, which as you guys may very well be aware, of course in the current state of Warzone, the FFAR is a top tier assault rifle and it's honestly a lot of fun to use. And that's so come, I want to go ahead and check it out in today's video. Additionally, the gameplay that you guys are going to be watching in this video is a Warzone win that I got when I was playing with a couple of my YouTuber friends, and we did extremely well. I think in that game I dropped 9 kills, which is pretty good for me, and overall our squad dropped 45 kills, which is really good, and I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay. So with all that said, if you guys go on to enjoy this video and you enjoy using the FFAR Assault Rifle, make sure you leave a like on it down below, as well as subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you guys will not miss any of the latest and greatest Call of Duty news, class ups, and all kinds of things like that. So without further ado, now that I got the intro out of the way, let's dive right into it. And alright guys, so of course to start off today's video, let's talk a little bit about the FFAR Assault Rifle. Of course, if you guys weren't already aware, the FFAR is a Black Ops Cold War weapon, and in many ways is a reskin of the classic FAMAS from Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Of course, it is a fully automatic assault rifle with a rather high fire rate as well as modest damage, and that said, the recoil is a little bit on the higher side. However, if you put on the right attachments and you learn how to control the weapon, then you can really reduce that recoil and actually turn it into somewhat of a laser beam. So naturally, because of all those attributes, it means that the FFAR is going to be really dominant at those close to medium range engagements. In many cases, the FFAR is kind of like a submachine gun assault rifle hybrid where the weapon can perform extremely well at those close range engagements. However, since it is an assault rifle and it has higher damage, it can still put out the damage and exceed at those medium range engagements. Now, generally speaking, the FFAR really starts to fall off at those longer range engagements, especially as a general rule of thumb, the Cold War weapons don't exactly have the same bullet velocity as compared to the Modern Warfare weaponry, and that's how come in this class setup I'm actually going to be pairing it with a KAR98K, and honestly that is a really good combo, and that's what you are going to be seeing throughout the gameplay, where I primarily use the FFAR at those close to medium range engagements and it absolutely shreds. However, once you go to those longer range engagements, I pull out the KAR98K and I start sniping. It's honestly a really good combo and it can really make you dominant at pretty much all ranges. And one reason why I really enjoy using the FFAR and KAR98 combo is that it really caters to my certain playstyle, and of course you will be seeing that throughout the gameplay. So with that said, let's actually talk a little bit about the class setup. Alright, so doing a brief rundown, of course for my primary weapon, I will be using the standard variation of the FFAR. That said, if you guys would like to use any blueprints, feel free to go ahead and do so. Moving on down for my secondary weapon, I will be using the KAR98K, and of course for my perk setup, I will be using EOD Overkill and Battle Hardened. Lethal is of course going to be the Semtex Grenade, and my tactical will be the Heartbeat Sensor. That said, now let's talk a little bit about the attachments I am going to be running on my FFAR. Going over them briefly, I will be using the Agency Suppressor, the 20.3-inch takedown barrel, the Raider Stock, the Field Agent Grip, as well as the Salvo 50 R&D Fast Mag. So now let's go a little bit more in depth. Now, of course, as I just mentioned, my first attachment will be the Agency Suppressor, and interestingly enough, this particular suppressor states that we'll be increasing the sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, as well as effective damage range. Now, for those of you that may be a little bit more comfortable and familiar with Modern Warfare weaponry, essentially the Agency Suppressor is the Cold War counterpart for the Monolithic Suppressor, so just make sure to keep that in mind. Now, the reason why I'm going to be using this attachment, and that's because for one, it will be increasing our bullet velocity as well as effective damage range, in turn making this weapon a little bit more effective at those medium range engagements. Additionally, of course, it will be giving us the added benefit of being a suppressor, so that way we can of course stay off the minimap. Moving on down for our next attachment, we will be using the 20.3-inch takedown barrel, which will naturally be increasing the bullet velocity as well as strafe speed. For our next attachment, we will be using the Raider Stock, which will be increasing the ADS firing move speed, the aim walking movement speed, as well as the sprint to fire time, and this attachment will allow us to be a little bit more mobile when using this weapon. Of course, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in this video, the FFAR shares very similar traits to a submachine gun, and of course if you are going to be using this particular attachment, it will allow us to strafe as well as move around a lot quicker, overall allowing us to be a lot more mobile when using the FFAR, and in many ways tapping into that submachine gun-esque aspect of this particular weapon. Moving on down for our next attachment, we will be using the Field Agent Grip, which will of course be increasing the horizontal recoil control as well as vertical recoil control. Of course, this particular attachment is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to allow us to aim a lot better when we are using the FFAR. And of course, moving on down for our final attachment, we will be using the Salvo 50 R&D Fast Mag, and of course this particular attachment will be increasing the ammo capacity as well as reload quickness. And that's one thing that I do quickly want to talk about the FFAR. Of course, this particular rifle has a very fast fire rate, and the default default magazine size of this weapon is 25 rounds, so that means you are going to be constantly reloading when you are using the FFAR, and because of that reason, that's how come I will be using this attachment, which will be bumping up the magazine size all the way up to 50. And even though this weapon does have a fast fire rate with 50 rounds, you can very easily take out one person and finish him without having to reload. And in addition to the 50 rounds, one thing that's really useful about this attachment is it of course increases your reload speed, so that means even when you have to reload, it's going to be rather quick, especially when you compare it to just using the standard magazine, overall making this attachment extremely useful. Alright, so that's about it for the attachments on the FFAR. Now let's move over and talk a little bit about the KAR98K. Now, I do quickly want to mention that of course for this class setup, I will be using my open season blueprint for the car. However, if you don't have this blueprint, it's really not too big of a deal. You can just use the standard variation because all the attachments I am using on my blueprint are not blueprint specific. So just make sure to keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. Of course, for my first attachment, I will be using the monolithic suppressor, which will be increasing the sound suppression as well as damage range. Next attachment will be the Syngard Custom 27.6 inch barrel, which will be increasing the damage range, bullet velocity, as well as recoil control. Next attachment will be the tac laser, which will be increasing the aim down sight speed, aim stability, as well as aim walking steadiness. After that, the subsequent attachment is the sniper scope, which of course will allow us to be a little bit more effective at those longer range engagements. Now, if you guys would like to swap this out for the variable zoom scope, feel free to go ahead and do so. However, for the gameplay as well as this class setup, I'm just going to be using the standard sniper scope. And of course, for our final attachment, we will be using the stippled grip tape, which will be increasing the aim down sight speed as well as sprint to fire speed. Now, at least from my own experience, you can really do two separate things when you're using the KAR98K. You can either treat it like a sniper rifle or treat it like a marksman rifle. And at least for this particular class setup, I treated it a little bit more like a marksman rifle because, of course, for this class setup, I am using the stippled grip tape as well as the tac laser, which will allow me to get up my iron sights and fire extremely quickly, which is kind of more like a marksman rifle. However, to counteract that, I'm also using the 27.6 inch barrel as well as the monolithic suppressor. So that means even though I am using the stippled grip tape and even though I am using the tac laser, my car is still going to be packing a punch and it will be putting out that damage at those medium to longer range engagements. And that's actually something that you guys will have seen throughout this gameplay, where I did end up getting some pretty nice snipes when I'm using the car, and some of them were at those longer ranges. So I hope you guys went on to enjoy those. And yeah, guys, with that said, that's gonna effectively wrap up today's video. I hope you went on to enjoy it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like on it down below, as well as subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you guys will not miss any of the latest and greatest Call of Duty news, class setups, and all kinds of things like that. So once again, that's gonna effectively wrap up today's video. I'm your host, Stever Jungle. I hope to see you in the next one.